Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order, July 15th, 2024. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this meeting duly outside the South Jersey Connect to the St. The municipal clerk of the township has been duly notified as requirements of posting of notices have been met. If you would please stand with me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trick Cole.
Shagley, here. Cunningham. Doyle,
Here.
Pedroso,
Here.
Michael,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
Smith, Starr, Brandt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. First item on our agenda is the end of the year student performance report for 23-24. Mrs. Dolan,
That anybody know? I'm sorry for you guys on this. I get a little hard previously, and I have to touch the board. Oh, then you don't have a little thing. So it's yeah, that's totally up to you.
you got two open seats, man. I like them.
And who like this chair too?
There's three of you, but
Yeah, there. Too short I am, but how do you guys know there?
So thank you so much. This won't take very long, but just to give you an update on our end of the year student data as long as the board works. We're going to take a look at the transfer in and out student data, DIBELS, iReady Reading, iReady Math, the math interview, as well as the math reasoning inventory. It just depends on what grade level, which assessment they receive, and then also on our district polls. So taking a look at, here's the transfer in and out numbers by month, also by grade level. On the other chart, you can see January, we had the most kids transfer into the district. January is April, we have 7, minus summer, when you're looking at that. And then in February, we had the most students transfer out of the district. This year, we were actually down percentage-wise. So we had a total of 163 students that either came in or left the district, which was about 12% of our student population. Last year, we had 213 students come in and out of the district, which was 16% of our population. So we hope to see that that will continue to decrease each year. We're going to take a look at the DIBELS data. So if you look at the percentages in the blue boxes, those are the percentages of the light green and the dark green together. That is the percentage of kids that are testing on or above grade level. So we are hovering between 42% and 62%, depending on the grade level. Kindergarten, we start here, first, second, and third. So that's how we ended the year. The orange students, for the orange percentages, are the students that fell in the strategic category, and red is intensive. This is each grade level from the fall to the spring. So kindergarten, first, second grade. Taking a look at this information, this is just the composite scores. So I'd always say to you guys, look for the green to get bigger and the red to get smaller. But when I take a look and dive deep into the data, we had a huge growth in kindergarten in letter naming fluency, nonsense word fluency, and correct letter sounds. Phoneme segmentation is still an area of focus and probably always will be in kindergarten, as that's their first initial step into learning how to read. But we had 31% of the students were on or above grade level for phoneme segmentation at the beginning of the year. And at the end of the year, we had 62% of them. So we had a lot of kids on grade level, but it was still the subtest that we scored that was the most intensive there. For grade 1, for 35% started the year on or above grade level, and we ended the year at 52%. The intensive percentage, we actually cut in half. So we went from 40% of the kids being intensive to 20. And leaving first grade, phoneme segmentation fluency was the strongest area in DIBELS. And we were hoping that that is what would happen, because we knew that that was an area that we needed focus on. Oral reading fluency had the highest percentage of intensive, which makes sense because they're just learning how to read in first grade. In second grade, 51% of the kids were on or above, and that shifted just a little bit to 53%, and the intensive decreased by 11%. Maze is the biggest area of concern in second grade, and that's comprehension, which makes sense because now we're shifting over from learning how to read to reading and comprehending what we're reading. Oral reading fluency, words read correctly, was the highest subtest for kids that were intensive. In third grade, we actually went down. 52% of the kids were on or above grade level in the beginning of the year, and 47 were on or above grade level at the end of the year. Nonsense word fluency is the biggest area of concern in third grade. While looking at oral reading fluency, the accuracy for these students went up to 85% of our kids reading accurately in that grade level. In fourth grade, maze is still the biggest area of concern, which is the comprehension part. However, the word accuracy has now gone up to 91% of our students reading accurately. For this, you will start to notice that our intensive population starts to grow in fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. There's only 3 subtests for JULs in those grade levels. So there's oral reading fluency, words read correctly, oral reading fluency, accuracy, and maze. The oral reading fluency, words read correctly is weighted the heaviest out of those 3 subtests. But in fourth grade, this is where we start to see that some kids are just slow readers. So it doesn't affect their comprehension, but they're not quick readers to get through these passages in the 1-minute time frame. So this is just a piece of the information, which is why you'll keep hearing me go back to the oral reading fluency accuracy, because by the end of sixth grade, we have 97% of the students reading accurately. And you wouldn't know that looking at the red that we have on the screen. For grade 5, oral reading fluency, words read correctly is the biggest area of weakness, but 95% of the students are reading accurately, and 78% of those students are comprehending the text according to the MACE subtest of this assessment. Okay, to move over to iReady reading, this is looking at fall to spring. So you can see here that we have lots of growth in the green, the 11% from mid to above to 41%. With iReady, we have learned that dark green is what we focus most of our attention on. That is what correlates to the state testing. Even though the light green is there and it's green, it still doesn't give us an accurate representation of the kids that truly are on grade level. They're still just a little bit behind that early grade level. But you can see that both the greens got bigger, even the 1 grade level below is smaller, and looking at the 2 and 3 grade levels below, definitely we cut that in half. The red was at 26%, when you add them together down to 11. For reading from fall to spring, kindergarten, you're always going to see a ton of growth. But I wanted to highlight first and second grade because looking at that mid to above grade level for reading, we went from 5% in first grade to 47% of kids being mid or above. And in second grade, we went from 11% to 47%. So I just wanted to highlight them because I feel like that's really good growth, especially in first and second grade. All the grade levels have nice growth when you're looking at that green to get bigger and that red to get smaller. So this is spring to spring for the last 3 years, so it's really comparing us to us. We are relatively the same as where we were last year at the end of the year, but we did improve from the 21-22 school year, looking at all of the colors. This is a new piece of data that iReady now gave to us this year, so I want to explain it, make sure that I explain it to you so you definitely understand it. I talked to the company to make sure that I was reading it correctly. So I'm sure you're familiar, our district goal is all on stretch growth. Our administrator goals, all of the teacher goals for iReady is all on the students making their stretch growth so we can get those students that are tier 2 and tier 3 back to grade levels. So what this is telling you is taking a look at the students for each grade level that met their stretch growth and how their placement changed in iReady from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So for example, in kindergarten, this number 60 represents that there's 60 students in kindergarten that met their stretch growth. Those 60 students, 7% of them were already mid or above grade level. 10% of them were early or on grade level. 83% of them were one grade level below. By the end of the year, those 60 students, they went from 7% to 93% of those 60 being to mid or on grade level. So this is data that we haven't had before. So when you're looking at this, you want to make sure you look at the numbers of students that actually met that stretch growth, and then take a look at how those greens improved and how much that red shrunk, which is one of the reasons why we focused so much on stretch growth the past couple years and will continue to. Is there any questions on this one? Yep.
Climate came back. I find it curious not understanding the kindergarten degree saving in the spring. It's 93%, but when they go testing in first grade, they're 82%.
So they're different grade though. They're different groups of kids. So that first grade group last year was that kindergarten group that we said was the lowest kindergarten group that we've ever had come in to kindergarten. So this is our different kids for each grade level. Yep.
Up to 8 years.
Yeah.
So this is how we compare to the state and the national. So I had circled us. We outscore the state as well as the national norms and the national year to date according to iReady. So some positives from this data is the phonics instruction is working and it's impacting the data in a positive way. Phoneme segmentation fluency is one of the strongest subtests in first grade. Oral reading fluency accuracy continues to grow in grades 2 through 6, and we will now be implementing intervention rooms will occur in grades 1 through 6. They've been occurring in grades 4 through 6. We are moving them down to grades 1 through 6, and you'll see this on the math takeaways as well. The target areas, K and 1, will continue to focus on phonemic awareness activities in whole group and small group. Grade 1 through 3, focusing on nonsense word fluency, correct letter sounds, automaticity and phonics skills to meet the DIBELS 1 minute time frames, and vocabulary and coverage. We're going to shift over to math for iReady. And this is just our growth from the fall to the spring. So you can see we went from 6% of the district being mid or above grade level to 42%. And our red went from a total of 24% down to 7% in the district. Highlighting second grade for math, they went from you not really having a percentage there, maybe 2%, to 44% of the students being mid or above grade level at the end of the year, and pretty much hardly any red. Same thing with first grade, you'll see it everywhere. I just wanted to highlight second grade because it went all the way to that 44%. And kindergarten always takes a time for us. So this is us from spring to spring to spring, and you can see, again, we're relatively the same as where we were last year, but when we look 2 years ago, we are definitely increasing, the growth is increasing. So this is for math, this is the stretch growth again. So looking at the number of students in that grade level that met their stretch growth, what it looked like in the fall compared to what they looked like in the spring. So 92% of them were below grade level below in kindergarten. And at the end of the year, 83% of those 84 kids were now mid or above. 8% were early on and 8% were 1 grade level below. Any questions on this?
Something different done with those 84? Like what about the one, so what they're 170, let's say in kindergarten?
Yeah, so I would have to tease it out and see which tier each of those kids were in, because when you look at our district goal, iReady automatically tiers the kids. So our district goal is by the tiers,
Okay.
and then each kid has to have so many points to reach their stretch group. So I would actually have to take those 84 kids and tease them out and see How many of them were in a tier 2? How many of them were in a tier 3? What kind of services did they get? That would be the next step, right, for me to do. I was just excited that we actually have this data now to take a look at. Barbie, go with this one. This is us in math compared to the state. This is the state of New Jersey. This is the national year to date. And as you can see, we outperformed the state as well as the national year to date in math as well as reading. So math interview, math reasoning, and Zatori. Taking a look at kindergarten, you'll see MOI and EOI. MOI is middle of the year. We don't give them the assessment till the middle of the year. And then at the end of the year. So previously, part whole was the area of concern in kindergarten. While that's still a little bit of a concern, we didn't have as many students scoring the emergency range for that. And for one more 2 or less, we only had 2 students in the whole grade level scoring the emergency level. For first grade, part whole was the biggest red, even though our green went from 53% to 69%. So there was a lot of growth, but it was also still the subtest that had the most red in there as well. But the red did go from 29% to 14%, which was a total of 24 students. The 1-2 more and less subtest went from 79% to 89% being on grade level, and the intensive went from 14% to 1%. Only 1% of the students were emergency for that. In second grade, they do the multi-digit interview, and you'll notice in second grade, it's MOI again. Because at the beginning of the year, they take the whole numbers assessment, but in the middle of the year, we give them multi-digit. So spatial reasoning showed the most growth out of all the subtests. That went from 35% to 70%. Part whole stayed relatively the same, and benchmarks of 5 and 10 is the area of concern for that grade level. In third grade, students made progress in both the addition and subtraction as well as multiplication and division subtests of the MRI. So we start giving the math reasoning inventory in third grade. In fourth grade, addition and subtraction stayed relatively the same throughout the whole year, but the multiplication and division proved to be more of a struggle, which makes sense for fourth grade. In fifth grade, you'll notice it's middle of the year again, because in the middle of the year, we transition to the MRI being about fractions and decimals. Students have to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide with fractions and decimals. Same thing for sixth grade as well. And neither one of those really wins out, addition, subtraction, or multiplication, division. They're both kind of relatively the same. So for math, our positive takeaways are the part-whole relationships are getting stronger in K of first grade. Fluency in the math relationships is growing, especially in the lower grade levels. The intervention room will now be occurring in grades 1 through 6. And for target areas, we are actually creating a new universal screener for kindergarten for the 24-25 school year. As you can see with the data, the kids are doing really well, but they're still lacking in some areas, and the current assessment that we are using is not pinpointing what their needs are. So we're looking at a different screener to start with them in September. Looking to create student domain goals based off of iReady across all of the grade levels, and incorporating more reasoning type questions with written responses into the curriculum at every grade level. So taking a look at our district goal, there's a lot of information up here. I know this slide is really busy, but we started this goal back in 21-22, and it was a 3-year goal. We have our baseline data in red, and our goal was that 70% of the students K through 6 would meet their annual stretch growth. And for every year, you can see we have the goal and then our actual, the goal and then our actual. Looking here, so this is reading, this is this year, and it's whatever's highlighted in the green circle, those are the tiers where we met the goals. So our goal was 46% of the tier 1 students to meet, and 46% met that goal. For tier 2, we had 46%, but only 42 met the goal. Well, our goal here for tier 3 was 31, 32% of the kids met the goal. And then in math, we did really great last year at 58, so we pushed that up to 63, but fell short at 42%. Same thing with the tier 2, 46% to 39%. Tier 3, our goal was 28.
That's where it is.
She has to fix it if I can't get it. 28% and 30% of our tier 3 students met the goal. We did not meet the overall goal of the 70% of the students, but when we started this for a reason. And we had the pandemic and the students were behind, and what were we gonna do? And we're gonna push this stretch growth. So I would really like to focus on where we were in 2020, 2021, and where we are now, because we have almost doubled every single one. So even though we did fall short on the overall goal, we have made significant progress throughout the last 3 years. So this year, overall, 47.5% of the students met the goal that we had set forth. In math, it was 55%, and in language arts, it was 40% of the population. This slide is really cool, if I can get it to come up. So here, it's by grade level. All of the yellow are the groups of students that met the goal. Look at all of the tier 3 groups that met that goal, that met their stretch growth. And looking at the tier 2 groups, that's where we were lacking before. It was like the tier 1 and the tier 2 students were hitting that goal, and the tier 3 kids were flatlining. So to see the number of grade levels that actually hit the goal is worth more to me than just that overall percentage. And this is for math. You can see majority of the grade levels, it was that tier 3 group that met their stretch growth goal. Look on that for questions.
Will the intervention rooms go away with all of the BSI go study?
Yes. Yes. So they will go to their BSI teacher for the whole block of time for math and ELA.
Will they have the ability to test out?
Yeah, yes, because we're constantly progress monitoring them, and the goal is for tier 3 kids to get to tier 2 and tier 2 to get to tier 1.
So iReady determines if they go to intervention.
So we use iReady, we use DIBBLES to determine students that are flagged.
Okay.
So for reading, we'll flag students that need more, like we'll have to assess them a little bit more to figure out what they need. So we'll do a diagnostic. It's usually a quick phonics assessment for them in the lower grade levels, and then that'll inform who just wasn't fluent and needs to work on fluency, and who has gaps that really need intervention services. So the DIBBLES and the iReady are our first layer, our first flag, and then we do the diagnostic. And then in math, it's the iReady math and the interview or the reason inventory that will flag them.
All best.
Right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
If I get that out of here and
Next item is our public comment section for agenda items and melodies. I take the list from you have a new comments. Is that
that
all bigger?
it's fine. We just
They want to comment with the comment. What's your time? Regardless. Okay. Saying none, make motion when to post the public to assessment.
second.
Call there.
Finding
Reports on anything specific to report right this evening. Is there anything from NJSBA far for the
Well, if anything I can see is they're having a county meeting on the 1st of October. And, but there's no information about it yet.
what the? I'll be that more.
That's why I looked in there.
A liaison reports. Guessing says correct. I'll cover Tuesday school. Moving on to our minutes, we have our minutes from our June and fall work session right in the board meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that cows or questions or revision? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as listed. Then a second.
Send it.
All in favor?
Oh, then
Yeah. Human resources, we get 2 revisions, Mr. Wilson.
Yep. Yeah. F2 is addition of a accounts payable that we can do private board assessment quality about. And the forge did receive another designation. That's what they're best for.
Resignation, a relocation.
Yep. Yeah.
Any questions on this 2 additions? Not thought, make a motion for human resources items. That's 1 for athletics, added by the superintendent. By the second.
Second.
Any other comment? Trish, call me up, please.
Jay Weeks,
Yes.
Doyle,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yeah.
Michael,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yeah.
Brant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our education items, that we go for tomorrow, so I think that's correct. That's correct. Any questions? Thought to make a motion to approve education items G1 through G6, recommend by the assistant status second.
Second.
Any other comments? Thought to call a little bit for
Doyle,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yeah.
Michael,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Finley,
Yes.
Brant.
yes.
Motion carries.
Submarine leads, the now revision student education, is that correct?
That was a today's button.
General administration, correct, yes.
Just all good there for.
All right. I need some questions. Hearing none, I take a motion to approve the general administration items as recommended, H1 through H6, recommended by the superintendent by the second.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Franklin. Any other comments? Bart, I'm sorry, Bart, Trish, do you call the roll, please?
Bart's
call the roll.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Finley,
Yeah.
Yes. Brant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any additions to operations? Sure.
No, no changes.
No changes to operations.
I'm sorry, I did lie. Use of facilities. We did have the township submit their request to use the fields over here at Pete's Genders for the database test.
Not okay. Any questions on operations trends? Thought make a motion to approve operations for the items I1 through I1 as recognized. That was second.
Second.
Second, is any other comments? If not, the whole to Mr. Ray.
Michael,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Chamberlain, yes. Coyle,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yeah.
Brant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under old business, we have our standing items. Does anyone have anything for item 1 or 2, which is core goal, the yearly planning calendar? Any questions or comments? Number 3, we have consolidation, regionalization listed. As you know, we discussed that in our work session. Reached out to the Rowan group to see if we could facilitate a meeting with the steering committee, which I think has been confirmed by everyone at this point. That meeting will happen tomorrow at 6 p.m. With the steering committee to review the study as amended by the Brown group. Any questions on that? Everybody saw steering committee member, is that accurate information?
Are there potentiality of like who's good starting to take it over, running it, or Delaware?
No, Mr. Walton and I were actually had that discussion just prior to the meeting, and I saw it from Mr. Walton. That's probably another conversation with Superintendent Delsey.
Oh, it's tomorrow night. You can step up and see.
We can have it tomorrow night.
From what?
Conversation.
Just so it's
Yeah, we're certainly going
I think that'll be a
I
time.
now it's been up to our expectation.
Mr. Brand, is that something that's to decide with the steering committee tomorrow night? Are you the whole group tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think we want
I think that's about watch.
Yeah, Mr. Fitzgerald heads up that our actions. Yes,
Yeah.
that our expectation.
They were mine. Okay.
That's
I used to admit my quick was I could the
stop.
do you know what is in it?
That the superintendent Delsey would be our expectation that they would take over.
But we talking up at 20s.
Well, again, yeah, we didn't want to blindside him, so that's we're out of that conversation.
We're at cable. You
These camera brand.
So there's nothing else I know about that. Was there anything else? Anyone has old business?
I can't get it quickly.
Yeah, so
how responsive. I didn't see it on the end.
Yes, Joe responded for both Chelsea and I.
So thank you.
Some of this.
we have no new business list. Is there anything Any board member would look for the board? Hearing none, move on to our second public comment, and or anyway, I made a motion to enter the public. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
I like it.
Anyone else in the public like to comment, Pam, or question?
I have a question. So we are in the process of merging with Delsey, or are we still?
Yes, just identify yourself.
Laura Walker.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moore. Your question was?
Are we still doing the feasibility study? Is that finished? Where are we at with the whole merger with Delsey?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how to answer that because I'm not sure where you're at with the whole merger, like what the last update you had was, but you had attended one of our other meetings, correct? I'm trying to remember which one and where we were at, but essentially the study that included by Rowan that presented the steering committee, there was a discrepancy, some outstanding tuition that between Newfield and Delsey Regional, that kind of threw a wrench in the whole thing. The study at that point got sidelined with Newfield as a participant. So at the request of the steering committee, the folks from Rowan amended the study to see what it would look like with the consolidation of just Franklin and Elk expanding and consolidating into what would be an extended or a large Delsey regional district, since we're already both a constituent of that district already. So that's the amended study that we're going to be looking at tomorrow night, or the week presented to us tomorrow evening.
Okay, so Newfield at this point doesn't want to participate in merging, or
No, I wouldn't say that Newfield doesn't want to participate. I mean, I can't speak for Newfield, but it was decided at the last steering committee meeting that Franklin and Elk would not proceed forward if Newfield is unwilling to discuss the issue of the outstanding tuition with Delsey. So essentially, Delsey, made a statement out that there was a certain amount that was outstanding. Newfield denied that amount was outstanding. However, failed to provide any documentation on that, and essentially refused to discuss the matter any further, which in turn caused the steering committee to make the determination that we're not comfortable moving forward, with the current study until that issue was resolved. So, to my knowledge, there's been no movement on that issue. So,
Okay.
now, I mean, Newfield is going to be part of the meeting tomorrow evening. That's correct, right? So they were invited. So it's not like they're being excluded or anything from the discussion. Just the amended study at this point, only looks at Franklin and Elk merging with Newfield remaining as a set receive as they are now.
So when would this be put out to the public for voting?
I mean, I don't think it's been determined that it will be put out to the public for a vote, but that's something we're going to have an answer to after tomorrow's meeting. Us here at the Franklin board have decided that we're not going to, proceed forward. I shouldn't say we're not going to proceed forward, but we're not going to be, making plans as if there was a regionalization, tentatively happening after, I think we decided October 1st was that the date. So if there hasn't been a resolution and a commitment by the steering committee to put it out to a vote by October the 1st, then we'll be moving on under the assumption that, regionalization is not going to happen, if that answers your question.
Yes.
That's
Thank you.
Hey, Barb, would you like to add anything to that?
I think so. I think it's still up for discussion. It's a lot. It's not just that's very simple, and I agree.
Yeah.
It's just where we are. Unfortunately, we wish we had an answer.
Yeah, I wish I had a more definitive answer for you.
Yeah.
This might be, which we don't have today.
And you'll be the first to know. But
Yeah. Would you like any other questions for Walker?
Well, I'm not what I can say.
that there may not be answers, but for now, I'm good. But thank you.
Sure. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I make a motion. We close the second public comment section. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Cool.
we do have an executive session this evening to conduct interviews for our intern superintendent. However, we don't anticipate taking any action for that. I'm reading this now. What is this additional item that executive session?
Oh, that's
To be able to do, yeah, well, look,
Okay, that's the chair. Oh, that's good. That's okay. I apologize because I'm going to test that something. So is that correct? There will be no action taken after.
not for inner, I can't.
It's like,
Great.
any other potential action until they're ready? You bet. Okay. So you walk this day, there won't be any action. Likely wanted to come out of executive session and adjourn the meeting. But again, you're welcome to stay like the business. So with that, I'll make a motion. We stay with the executive session. So it's fine. In this potential. Get please. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye, please.
All right.